Normally, I record these kinds of things in chronological order. I first unbox the computer parts. I then film them. I then benchmark them. I then procrastinate, and then I video edit them. But it turns out this just because something is under warranty doesn't mean doesn't mean that it's gonna always immediately be fixed when it breaks. Because I have grinded through a total of 1, 2, and 3 MSI B660M CEC DDR4 motherboards. Wi-Fi. First one didn't have functioning USB 3.0. Second one didn't have a functional Wi-Fi card, which we could have gotten around, but this is a flip computer. I don't want to sell the customer something they can't fix. And the third one. The third one came back with a broken BIOS. You'll see what I mean in the video. Now we're on our number 4, and MSI might fix it. They might send me an open box one. They might send me a refurbished one. I don't know. Intel doesn't supply them the B660 chipset anymore. And couldn't they just give me a similar motherboard with a more modern chipset in DDR4, the same specifications? Give their customer a better product, because they can't seem to honor the warranty of an older product. Like, I like long warranties, guys. It means the product's gonna be supported by the manufacturer, or when it's old. But like, come on, expect that warranty to be utilized when the product breaks in the future. Not when you're no longer making it. Not when you have a bunch of leftover stock. Because guess what? Leftover stock, maybe a lot of them are broken. Maybe that's why. I'm just ranting at this rate. Okay, let's get on to the video and let's get on to the intro. Beep. Well, I didn't show the installation process for this, but I'm having a bad day. But MSI has finally seen our RMA request and given us a repaired Mobo. Just kidding, they didn't do shit. They just took one look at our cockroach friend in disaster and gave us a different motherboard. And as an apology for not being able to fix said Mobo, they've given us the better variant of the two B660s. They've given us the one with actual heat sinks. Hooray! Okay, now let me finish screwing it in before anything else. One would not believe the amount of warranty claims someone would have to go through to try and get a functioning motherboard. I should know. This is my third MSI RMA. Just give me a new motherboard at this rate, MSI. Blank Mobos, packaging. Okay, it seems they fixed it this time. Okay, it seems they gave me back my thermal right mounting bracket. Don't know how that got there. Or don't know if I ever took it off. Whatever the case, let's see if, yeah, I never took it off, and I must have sent it in with the motherboard. Alright, that's nice of MSI. I don't even know if the camera can hear me through this mask. I'm currently sick. So, let's just test if everything works first. Alright, we're not even installing this. I don't trust MSI enough to go through the hassle of installing this motherboard and seeing if it's ready to fire up. Let's just fire it up on the board and test everything there. God, white screen of death. Don't do this to me. This can't be real. I'm hallucinating. I'm losing it. It's a white screen. Fuck MSI. Well, MSI is useless. So let's switch to a whole different platform, ASRock. Aren't we downgrading from an i3 to this Ryzen 5 5500 from Micro Center? Maybe. Do I care at this rate? No. Am I in crippling debt from buying all these computer parts? Yes. Am I being disowned by my parents by how many computer parts I buy? Yes, yes, and yes. Do I regret it? No. Let's finally flip this piece of shit. First off, we unbox our CPU, our Wraith Stealth Cooler, and we got to add the important part, the sticker. The sticker. As if she's been from the factory this way, and it's crooked. Who cares? Flip out, flip out. Out. Oh, sweet motherboard, etc's. There we go, front panels. Kimi no ai ga tsuyu ni tsuyu ni tashi woohoo. Go fight. Umadachi. Umayoi. Sidachi. Umasai. Fight. One problem. Where did I put the screws for this shit? Ah, they're right there. shouldn't we test the motherboard on its box before firing everything up? Yes. Yes, for the love of God. I should probably test this motherboard on its box before firing everything up. New motherboard smell. Unlike that refurbished shit from MSI. Oh, my dad's gonna either disapprove of me or disown me entirely. Save me. Actually, don't save me. I deserve this. I waste too much money on computer parts, and now I have negative $4 in my bank account. Oh, there's the CPU. Line the latch. Do I miss PGA CPUs? No, I do not. 1,000 no's. Why? Because personally, I like AM5 and I like the land grid array solution. Some might disagree with me. Others have disagreed with me via Discord. And I honestly can understand the benefits of PGA. You mess up the pins on the motherboard, you lose a motherboard. You mess up the pins on the CPU, you lose a CPU. But I'm gonna be honest, guys, messing up both as equally as possible. Just a different varying outcome. And also, like, there's only a certain amount of pins you can cram on a CPU before it becomes too fragile to even let it sit from the bottom. Because the thing about PGA CPUs is they have to sit on a table. And usually the smaller those pins become, the more fragile they become. And the more the potential that those golden things just snapping off when they try to add more pins, like in AM5. Although I do have one complaint from Ryzen's AM5 CPUs, and that's their IHS. Like, come on. They designed it that way so it would work with past coolers. But like, you had no problem using a different mounting system, well, different mounting spacing between AM4 and AM3, so what's the different about this? Using that. I need a bigger screwdriver. Since this is the cheaper side of AM4 motherboards, our CPU pin header does not use 8-pin. What does it use? It uses, God forbid, 4-pin CPU. And one might ask, why? I have no idea. They are producing... the Megacorp is producing these things in bulk. I don't know why they just take an 8-pin from the bin. But then again, this might be the same PCB as some earlier A320 motherboards. The difference being this one supports PCIe 4.0. But we're only using a GT710, and this entire time the camera's not been facing the board. Fun! Well, it's not
beautiful, but it isn't exactly broken, so I call that a win. Within this, we're gonna have to total up everything we spent with here. Ding 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 ding. I should have probably written this down in the script. I'll just do it in editing. $466.6 in this system total, not including the case, not including the power supply. Jesus Christ. Now let's include the power supply case. Jesus, this thing costs $177.82, counting every part if every part was bought brand new. This is what $600 gets you now in the PC world. Barely enough storage, barely a GPU, barely a CPU, and barely a power supply. This is not a budget build. This is sad. Alright, let's see how it performs in game. Hoot hoot, here we are, Cyberpunk 2077, custom settings, and low texture settings. I should definitely be doing my homework, but instead here we are playing Cyberpunk and a moderate 30 FPS average and a moderate and 1% lows around the 20s. Not bad for low settings and any strophe for whatever. I just write the things down. Anyways, we have DLSS super resolution on to aid our little RTX 3050, and its preset is set to transformer. Wow, even at 30 FPS, this game feels pretty smooth. At least when I tested it, I barely noticed that this was on like 30 FPS on average. But that's mostly thanks to DLSS. The minute you probably turn DLSS, will probably crash down to a snail's pace of 15 FPS. But hey, if we turn off ray tracing, which this RTX 3050 should be able to do from the factory but isn't able to, we'll probably get 30 FPS. But now, on to our CPU. The Ryzen 5500 does not support PCIe 4.0. It's locked down to the CPU chip to not be able to use this motherboard's ability to use PCIe 4.0. And I looked it up, and the next step, the Ryzen 5600, is too pricey for my budget. So this is basically a budget 6 core with PCIe 3.0. Pretty good for any GPU that is a PCIe 3.0 card, or you can just or a 16 lane card. The RX 9060 XT 8GB, which is a pretty decent card, even if it will be bottlenecked by the system. You'll still be able to get a lot of performance out of the 9060 XT 8GB. Just don't crank it above its 8GB VRAM limitation. Or when you eventually get enough money to upgrade the rest of the system, which surprisingly there's a lot of people online who are allergic to that concept. You can reuse your 9060 XT into that system. Reusing old graphics cards is just as viable as reusing old CPUs. But why can't I reuse both? Do you want a system upgrade or not? Well, speaking of that, I cannot believe the amount of people online, uh, online that think, oh, it's fine, it still works. Yeah, I don't need to upgrade. My guy, your computer is literally on fire, in more than one way too. Please, for the love of God, save yourself a headache in the future when it eventually does break. You'll probably have less of a headache because you know it's reusable and not troubleshooting your way or tossing it to the technician and praying to God they can somehow revive that 20-year-old piece of hardware. Just upgrade, people. It's
I get that you don't have to upgrade every 3 years, but at least try to do it every 5 to 6 years. Not gonna say 7. 5 years old is a pretty decent marker to upgrade your computer. 10 years old is the bare minimum, is when you should really upgrade. And 20, and you should probably just stop trying to hack Linux onto your Pentium. Anyways, on to the next game.
Ugh, I feel like falling asleep. Well, I forgot what settings I put this on, but whatever the settings. World of Warships 1080p maximum settings. We see that we're doing pretty well. Not me as in gameplay. I have chosen Z35 in this gameplay footage. Don't know why I spent my coal on this ship, but here we are. So for our averages, we're averaging around a stable 124 FPS, a stable 1% low of a 102, and a 0.1% low of 59. Whatever shows on the screen is going to be a little different because I'm currently too tired to pull up my data sheet here, and I should probably just, get some sleep and do this recording later. But I really want to get this game done, so let's talk about our little our performance. Well, we see that our RTX 3050 is doing actually pretty decently in this game. World of Warships is not a VRAM demanding game, or rather, it is actually a GPU core demanding game. So more stress is put on the core of the GPU itself rather than its VRAM. Unlike Sun games. But anyways, system-wise, the CPU is got absolutely nothing notable about it. Maybe we could have squeezed out more if we used a PCIe 3.0 card like the RTX 2070 or the RTX 2060. Both of which has probably all 16 lanes functional, and PCIe 3.0, which this CPU is limited to. And if you're planning to replicate this flip build yourself, don't. I would not recommend pairing your any future RTX card like the 4060, 5060, whatever you find on eBay, like maybe an RTX 5050 if you're that desperate. Because PCIe 3.0 will basically choke the heck out of it. And even if you get something like the RX 6600, well, actually the RX 6600 is pretty fine. What I should be talking about is that don't bother getting any other AM4 CPU higher than this. I have seen so many people get a 5700X, 5700 Ryzen CPU, and it's a pretty good CPU. But what the heck are you gonna do with 8 cores and that many threads? Just get the damn Ryzen 5 5500. And on to the next test. Even though by the time of recording Forza Horizon 6 is coming out, we see that we're doing a pretty decent number in Forza Horizon 5. A pretty optimized game that worked pretty well for even Pascal architecture cards. What else? What other architectures were there again? Let me take a look. Polaris. It worked well on even something like Maxwell architecture. To be specific, the Maxwell 2.0 architecture, as it says on Tech Power Up. Don't know, don't care. Because I'm pretty sure the only Maxwell 1.0 architecture GPU was the GTX 750. Oh, got some phlegm. GTX 750 Ti. That was not Pascal. That was Maxwell's Oh, like pure Maxwell, I think. Yeah. Wait, hold on. Yep, the 700 series was named Fermi. And if you could get if you could get your GT 710 to somehow run Forza Horizon 6, no wait, Forza Horizon 5, all I can say is kudos. Please upgrade before you break your computer. Trying to make it go faster. It pains me to know that there are some people who purposely buy GT 1030s in this day and age, and I'm not even talking 2026. I knew some people who bought 2020 in 2025 before the whole Ramageddon that bought a GT 1030 on purpose. And you know what? And you know what? All because they wanted to fit in their HP in small form factor PC. And no shaming against what your computer is, but if you're that poor, then please just buy a riser cable and have the GPU sit on the outside of the PC. You're not fooling anyone. That computer looks horrible. Final thoughts. So. What would I recommend from this build? Well, definitely not recommending the 3050 for a budget Ryzen build. The 5500 is limited to PCIe 3.0 speeds, and you're better off just slapping in a 2060, despite how old that is. Or an RX 5700 XT, or the legendary RX 6600. Which AMD has stopped making. So you'll probably get something new like the RX 7600. Now while I'm trying to test if this motherboard works, I have I have lost my i3 12100F in my room. But don't worry, we're gonna be testing, and if I can't find that, we're gonna test it with another CPU. Yep. But anyway, since this is final thoughts, let's just continue on final thoughts. In terms of gaming, this thing does pretty decently. No major lag spikes, no major things that would be a cause for concern, other than the frustration of this motherboard shenanigans giving us more headaches than probably a warm sunny day. Jeez, where did I put that CPU? While I go look for that dang CPU, I'm probably going to tidy up the build before sending it off to eBay. If you like the video, leave a like. If you dislike the video, leave a dislike. If you have an opinion to share, or leave in a comment, and make sure to subscribe. It really helps me out and really makes my day better. Bye.